Donc là, si vous voyez, le cadre plein, ça va apparaître à gauche. À gauche, ils vont apparaître du mauvais côté. Ici,
Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. At the moment, you can hear me. If people didn't speak that loud. Test.
Last test.
So thank you for being here, and thanks to my colleague Daniela Rondinelli for having organized this event on a very timely moment, because we are approaching the end of the work on the Artificial Intelligence Act, and that's an important part of the debate that you are having. Obviously not the only topic, but one of the most important ones, because thanks to the efforts of the creative and media and cultural industry, we have been achieving a great result in that text of the regulation. We work on that also with colleague Daniela Rondinelli, who will speak after and is hosting this event. I'm sorry, I can only be with you for this short input, because I need to go back to Italy, but I really wanted to be here again to thank all of you, my colleague, and all the realities present, the ones participating, because your efforts have been extremely important to achieve what we achieved in the AI Act. We have a comprehensive protection of copyrighted material, of transparency that is needed to make creativity and authors and the workers in general in the field of artistic, cultural, creative and media sector to be protected and to be supported in their use of AI to develop new creativity, but also to be supported in giving value to what they produce, to what they create, that is then used now in the economy of the artificial intelligence. This will be reached through the two ways: the opt-outs that we have envisaged, and also the transparency on the data sets that have been used to train the existing systems. This last point was very hard to negotiate. We really needed your support for this work. A lot of lobbying, legitimate, but lobbying in the opposite sense was pushed. It was pushed through the member states too, to not have this kind of protection that is based on transparency. We want to know what is used to train the algorithm, and to know if something that needs to be compensated to be part of a broader agreement is there. You know, there are ongoing trials on this, also on the other side of the ocean, a very famous one, the one of the New York Times, but not only that. And I'm happy that with our legislation, I'm sure we can pursue a policy of agreement. We do not want a fight. We want AI to thrive in EU, but with the right safeguards for the artistic sector. So I'm sure you will talk about this, but also about the training that is needed, the need to invest in learning so that everyone can get the best out of this transformation through the AI. And we will need, and I conclude on this, we need your support for the next phases, for the work that, for example, my colleague has been doing in the committee dealing with the workers, about the involvement of the creative workers in this context, the work that we will need to do for further decisions, budgetary and legislative, but also for the implementation of the AI Act, because what I just explained on copyrighted material will need to be implemented through a scheme that needs to be put in place by the new AI office, the new office that will oversee. And so the way this will be done, for example, how much detailed the summary of the data that has been used will be an important detail to work on, because on that it will depend if you can actually have a better position in front of the developers of AI or not. So on the implementation phase, we need you, and we need the work of many parliamentarians like Daniela, that is devoted on this topic, has also promoted, she will talk about that for sure in the parliament, a specific initiative on that, because AI is everywhere. And so it needs to be treated as it is, as an important topic that needs to be looked with the lens of our European values. So thank you very much, and I hope you will have a very good and fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I thank my colleague Brando for having accepted to come here and say a few words of introduction on our works today. I really thank all the speakers, and I think that so many people are attending this event testify how important is the topic we are discussing today. And particularly, I would like to thank Giacomo Mazzone, the General Secretary of Eurovisioni. We met in Venice in September on the occasion of a United Nations event on artificial intelligence and its consequences in cinema, film industry. And Giacomo was presenting a very interesting report side UNESCO concerning the media consequences, on media consequences. And so we started to make this exchange of ideas in view. And so we thought to organize an event at the European Parliament with the UNESCO, so in cooperation with the International Council for Films and Television. Also, we are going to have the responsible for the protection and promotion of the diversity of cultural expressions, so with UNESCO and United Nations, to give rightly the sign how we can link the work we are dealing at European level with the international level. Particularly, I was interested in organize such a moment because I work with a great commitment in quality of shadow rapporteur of a resolution. Well, actually, it was an own initiative legislation activity of the European Parliament on the framework for the social and professional situation of artists and workers in cultural and creative industry, which was voted last November in the plenary. And this own initiative legislative framework was inspired by the European Parliament, dealing with the professional aspects of the workers and artists, but at the same time on the professional too. So there is a specific part of this own legislative initiative dealing with artificial intelligence, and namely the generative artificial intelligence, which probably will affect a lot the workers of this industry. But not only that, I mean, artificial intelligence is the topic of the topic nowadays. Here at the European Parliament, we are facing this huge technology transformation in all the different committees. In particularly, I am in the employment one, so you can imagine how much we are dealing with this issue to understand, first of all, the process that is going on, to ask ourselves, do we really need a legislative framework, a European legislative framework, not only on the use of artificial intelligence, but namely on the rights, on protection, as the AI Act that Brando is dealing with is more focused on. But also this implies what it means to have digital new rights and new protection. So I think it's important for us to understand the process, and we are doing a big effort to understand in which way, if and in which way, the generative intelligence, artificial intelligence will impact on employment level, on professional skills, how jobs and skills will be affected or developed. So what will be the consequences on the European labor markets, known that we don't have actually in European labor markets, but we have the sum of the 27 ones. So we are dealing with this, and at the same time, you know that around this discussion on artificial intelligence, we would like, to avoid a sort of polarization on debate on this. Now, the ones who said this is going to promote huge opportunities, not only for workers, but the human being's life. Some others are more concerned and worried, namely afraid of this transformation. So it's important, and I think the meeting we are doing today, my scope was rightly to have an exchange of view between us, to exchange ideas, point of views, and perspective, because we come from different, different fields. There are representatives of social partners, there are representatives of civil societies, international institutions, European Parliament. So really we can bring here different point of views. The aim, of course, is not to have conclusion today, but I think that we have, and we really need a common governance of this process and of these transformations. A common governance which is made by us. So today is just a step further. It's just an occasion to meet us and to discuss this important issue, to try to, to drive the path for the future. And so today we're not only discussing the artistic and creative industry and cultural industry, but with Giacomo, we had also decided to also switch on a light on also the media industry, because of course, one of the main concerns in that particular field is not probably labor condition, but namely how artificial intelligence can, how can I say, interfere or change the way media will give information. Now, this is very important because, of course, media and information are the basic of, to growth our citizens' awareness, are the ones who inform all people around the world, in our countries, in Europe. And thanks to information, we as citizens, we have our consciousness about being citizens, and that's instruments for us, not only to understand what is going on, but it also a basic element as a freedom of thoughts. So on that field, I know that there is concern, and also I think it's an important issue that we are going to face today. And concerning the artistic and creative industries. Two colleagues of mine that they are the co-rapporteur of this own initiative opinion will intervene afterwards, because of course there is a big concern, not in terms of the possibilities of artificial intelligence could even substitute jobs that are now doing by human beings. And so the substitute of the use of the voice, of the use of the face, of the use, the possibilities to write even pieces of theater, of movies, also in that sector, a lot is moving forward and changing. So I thank you all for having me, accepting my invitation to be here. I'm very happy that we are so many. So it means really that the topic is at the core of all our activities from the different point of view. And I really wish to all of us the capability and the possibilities for us to build this common governance that I was talking about and drive together all this historical revolution that we are facing. So I would like to give the floor to Giacomo Mazzone, who is going to coordinate the different speakers who we have invited to attend, and then I hopefully, if we have time for also a little bit of debate and discussion, and to close this event around 4:30. So thank you once again for your presence. I also want to thank a lot of people that are linked remotely who couldn't be physically here, but I know there are a lot of people attending remotely. So I thank you also, these friends and colleagues who, of course, they share with us the same interest of the event of today. Thank you very much.
Before that, Brando leave the room, the 100 million question, when the text will be available?
Is already available because yesterday it was voted, so it is available, and it's final because the plenary will only confirm the text. So it's already available. You can ask me for that, but it's already on the website of the Parliament.
Perfect. So
thank you.
This is a big announcement for us. We have finally a text to criticize.
Yes, but I think you will like it because we went where you wanted us to go, and I think rightly so. Not always your requests, I think, were reasonable from the industry, but in this case, you have all the right to ask for a more equitable use of the content on the media, the control over the deep fakes, etc., etc. Thank you.
So you will have the list at the end of the day, don't worry. It will be a long one. So thank you very much to Daniela and to Brando for hosting us. They also to the Commission to be with us today, because it's important that all the institutions, this is an effort that is interinstitutional, and it's important that everybody will be on board. Eurovisioni, as you know, is an event that takes place in Rome since 37 years, dedicated to reflection on the future of audiovisual. We started with cinema, then we moved to enlarge, it was cinema and television, and now it's multimedia, and now will be artificial intelligence, because the boundaries are shifting all the time. I think that, and of course, Eurovision is part of CICT. That is one of the reasons why we are here today. That is the International Council of Cinema and Television at UNESCO that gathers most of the initiatives that are reflecting on this topic. So, first, technical information. We have distributed not for all the participants, because we don't have enough copies, this technical note that is very interesting and important, that has been produced by ILO for us, because the ILO is, I don't know if you are aware, but is doing a very important research on the impact of artificial intelligence on creative jobs. And this is a compilation of some of the research that they are doing, is still under approval within ILO. So this is not an official document of ILO, but contains some very interesting and important forecasts that will help us to understand where we are going. So just put in the right frame, and thank you, ILO, for giving us this contribution. Thank you to all the participants that are here on the panel, representing different instances of the society, of civil society, the unions, the cultural diversity coalitions, the television that are here represented by EBU, but also by France Television, RTVE, the Journalists Union, and all the other that are here participating. A special thanks to UNESCO, because UNESCO has been at the beginning of the work of the Parliament, because they provide us a starting document of the status of the artists. That is the basic document within UNESCO, a document that is now under revision because they need to keep in account all the changes that happen. Just 2 words before to open the debate. The first is, the discussion of today is for me an example of what we have to do in each sector. AI is not something that will affect a sector. It will be something that will change all the working experience, all the social contract. We have to renew the social contract. And the media and the creative work are the first to be impacted by generative AI. But the next step of artificial intelligence, the general AI, will impact all the sectors. So we are a test bed for what will happen next. And if we are going wrong in our sector, there are very likely possibilities that this will go wrong for all the rest of the society. So don't think only to the consequence for us, but let's think that we are an example of what will happen for the rest of the society. The last point is the why us. You remember that there was this image some years ago about the digitalization of the society. The music industry was the first on the list because they were the easiest to be affected by digitalization. And now the same scheme applies to what happens with the artificial intelligence. So we need to be very careful and to work on that. Do we want to give some time to Mr. Mendes before to give him the floor so that he understands where he just arrived, or we can jump him in the swimming pool immediately?
Well, I always like to have a refreshment. Thank you very much.
No, we can give you some.
We just voted on greenwashing. That's a nice issue also, by the way. Well, thank you. I'm not an expert on AI.
You have not to be.
But of course, as a real politician, I know everything about nothing. Talking to AI, is it changing the artistic, cultural, creative, and media sector? And the answer is yes. Yes. And I just had my son on the telephone, and I said, I have to speak about artificial intelligence and the creative sector. What should I say? And he's young, and he said, I am from the generation that I'm always looking for answers. But he said, the young generation is looking for the right questions. Because AI will have the answer. So I think AI can help the sector extremely well, but it means that it will change the sector in a way. For example, if you're an actor, and in the United States, they protested for months because it's so easy to use a face of an actor and make a movie out of it, and you don't see the difference. In the beginning, it's a shock, but if you know that it is possible, then you can also take that into account and have your business model. You have to connect that to other possibilities, other challenges, and it is always taking a lot of time. Then, because I'm an how you call it, a trained sculptor, I studied the Academy of Fine Arts and law, of course. So I'm a barrister and a sculptor, and I like to talk. So that's what a barrister is doing. But then with making jokes and being creative, and that's what an artist would like to do. I think that AI is helping us a lot, and but not in the same way as we are used to. And it's always when there is something new in technology, let's say the sectors and the people who are making, well, their business, they're making their money for their survival, they are protesting because they are not ready yet to have another way of thinking. And that's what we need. What we need is, what kinds of possibility can AI provide us, and how can we deal with this with the creative sector? Because I think, and that's what I learned already from AI is absolutely not creative. They're just copying everything they see. And what we need is the creative minds. But how can we fit that in AI? I don't know the answer yet, but I think creativity is something, well, I think it's a unique selling point of people. And the surroundings, the technical challenges are changing every day. And well, we have to deal with that, and that's also what we can, because our mind is very flexible. I think we have to stick on our creativity and see how we can use our creativity in this, let's say, ongoing innovative world. And I don't see it, well, I always think you should use it, what is available, for your good sake yourself. And well, it will be, well, for some people, it will be difficult, and others will grow and use it in the right way, and then they might be, well, let's say, successful with it. I still remember, and that's when I studied the Academy of Fine Arts, it was, for me, it was amazing. Why is one sculpture known and famous, and there are so many other sculptures who aren't? Sometimes, and I wrote my dissertation on that, because some people have their mecenas. How you call them? Mecenas, is that the right word? The sponsors. And it was already in the Renaissance, where the Pope was asking Michelangelo to do so, and he paid for it. But there were lots of other good sculptures, but Michelangelo is the known one and the famous one. But if you then go a little bit further, Robert, now I forgot his name, Robert, it's a famous sculpture in the 50s. He was in the Biennale in Venice, and he had a very small, Robert Rauschenberg, that's the name. He had a very small exposition space. And then his mecenas, Roberto, it's an American Italian. He said, no problem. I will hire one of these beautiful palazzos, and then you can use this at your own. And since that time, Mr. Robert Rauschenberg is a world famous artist. You all know the goat with this tire around the neck. It was presented in Venice on the Biennale, but due to his protector. And that means that you always have to use the possibilities in the market to become more famous, and in this case, Robert Rauschenberg used Leo Caselli, his gallery owner. But if it is now AI, then you have to use it. And some people are successful with this and others are not. And that is how this jungle outside is working. I hope you have some questions, because I like to answer questions too.
Could you stay with us for a while?
For a while.
Because we are supposed to have a question time later?
Yes.
Okay. If you have to leave, you let me know, and then we can interrupt. Okay, we will see if we can finish the some of the intervention, then we can break for you. Thank you. So the next step of this process will be in another building, always in Brussels, not far from here. And we have Ms. Pidcock of the Commission that will explain what will happen. Please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear members of the Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to be here today to explain what the Commission is doing for the creative and cultural sector, for what relates to artificial intelligence, but specifically to listen to you and to exchange some views. The Commission sees great potential on how the digital transition and also the artificial intelligence revolution can benefit the culture, one of the Europe's most unique assets. Artificial intelligence can, of course, support professionals by helping them to manage and analyze huge amounts of data, forecast trends, personalize content, or assist them with tedious tasks, and thus save time for creation. But at the same time, artists and cultural and creative organizations may have difficulties in accessing data, and there are also concerns about generative AI, misinformation, lack of transparency, and the AI impact on jobs and values. We have put in place various levers to harness the opportunities and also tackle the challenges. The first one is on the regulatory field. We have been working hard to put in place an enabling regulatory environment. We now have the new copyright rules, which strengthen the bargaining position of creators to obtain fair remuneration for the exploitation of their work and performance, and also a digital services package that will greatly contribute to fighting against illegal content and online disinformation, as well as to building a fairer digital environment. Of course, we spoke about it already. The proposed AI Act will complete our regulatory toolbox. It aims to build an ecosystem of trust and promote uptake of human-centric AI. It will become the first comprehensive law regulating AI. It will include requirements to ensure transparency, including a relation to the use of copyrighted materials for the training of AI, provisions on copyright compliance, as well as marking obligations for AI-generated content, deepfake, addressing the legitimate concerns of culture and creative sectors. The second levers that we have invested a lot of effort in studies to gather relevant data. We have commissioned several studies. Most of them were published in 2022 in the fields of AI, copyright, and audience engagement. Under the umbrella of the EU Work Plan for Culture, we are about to finalize the evaluation of tenders for a study on discoverability of European content online that we expect to kick off soon, and we expect to have the results by the end of the year. The study should help us understand the impact of the algorithm recommendation and digital curation strategies have on exposure to cultural diversity so that we can better promote European content online. The third levers that we have is, of course, the funding. Programs such as Creative Europe, Horizon Europe, Digital Europe, and also the Recovery and Resilience Facility have opened numerous channels to support digitalization of the culture and creative sector. Let me start by talking a little bit about Creative Europe, a program that is the closest to my heart. As most of you know, and it was really good news, the budget for this program has substantially increased for the current programming period, reaching 2.4 million euros, dedicated to the support of the sector. Creative Europe is contributing to the digital shift of the sector in line with the Commission Digital Decade policy program. And this is reflected in all the three strands of the program: the culture strand, the media strand, and the cross-sectoral strand. In the culture strand, European cooperation projects can select the digital priority as one of their project priorities. Until now, 12% of the selected projects under Creative Europe 21-22 will help the sector to undertake and accelerate their digital transition, to enhance their competitiveness, but also use digital arts in their activity. I can give you one or two examples. The first one would be in music. We have a project called Modena, which aims to build the capacity of dance and media artists in the new digital and AI-based technology. Also, the other project, Algorithm, will use algorithms to analyze and interconnect data from music streaming platforms and social media networks to develop marketing plans. The ethical use of AI is a matter of huge importance for the music sector, as reminded by the recent resolution from the European Parliament on cultural diversity and on the conditions for offers in the European music streaming market. We will soon have, on the 22nd of February, Music Moves Europe conference. And in this context, we will have a specific session on AI trends in music. Also under Creative Europe, this time within the cross-sectoral strand, we have a call, Innovation Lab, which funds cross-sectoral projects addressing challenges common to the different sectors, so audiovisual and other creative sectors, through the design or development of innovative tools, including those making use of AI. And the call will be open till April 24. Also under our research and innovation program, Horizon Europe, we have for the first time a cluster dedicated to culture, creativity, and inclusive society with a budget of 2.3 billion euros. Research will focus on three areas: green, digital, and innovation. A flagship initiative under Horizon Europe is the European Collaborative Cloud for Cultural Heritage that will facilitate access to advanced technologies and remove barriers for smaller and remote cultural institutions. In addition, we have Digital Europe, which is funding the data space for cultural heritage, based on the Commission recommendation on a common European data space for cultural heritage. And the main objective of this project is to accelerate digital preservation, sharing, making discoverable and reusing of digital cultural heritage assets. So to facilitate this endeavor, the Commission recommends seizing the opportunities of advanced technologies, such as artificial intelligence, the cloud, and in particular 3D. These are a few examples of the various initiatives that we are putting in place to regulate and also support the ethical use and uptake of AI technologies. Artificial intelligence is here to stay. It will develop and open more and more possibilities for the cultural and creative sector to flourish. So our goal is to support the sector in a continuous transformation by ensuring that it has an adequate framework for ethical use of AI, securing fair remuneration for creators, and also building capacity to enable the sector to take full advantage of the possibilities raised by AI, while developing the necessary safeguards to cope with the existing challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this comprehensive presentation. The main question for you, but it will come later, but I can anticipate, is when do you think that there will be a proposal of legislation about what comes out from the recommendation from the Parliament? So prepare yourself.
Okay.
I will ask you later.
Okay.
Okay. So if I understand correctly what has been told from Daniela, Padre Benanti is not with us. The first explanation was because it's San Valentine, but
Yeah,
think
I
that
would
is
like to
not the
spend
case.
some words on Padre Paolo Benanti, because what's happening in Italy from this point of view is very interesting. We have a national committee on the information and media and artificial intelligence, and the government has appointed a priest to be the coordinator of this commission. Paolo Benanti is a very young professor at the university, an expert on this. So he has theories on algorithmocracia, so the government of the algorithms. So he has a theological and ethical point of view on all this. So his theories are very much interesting, and he's really giving a huge contribution on our debate at political and social level in Italy. And of course, as an image, to have a priest from the order of San Francesco, San Francis. So it's a very touching images. But he is a very good expert. He's a huge expert on this. Very young. He's almost 40 years old. And no, I did last minute. He couldn't leave because how do you say this? Today is the Wednesday of Ash for Easter. Ash, do you say so in English? So he's very sorry. He's very sorry. He cannot attend for religious commitment. So he's very sorry not to be here, but he gives you his greetings and so it was
And
interesting.
his blessing. I hope that.
I'll tell him to give a blessing to all of us for Easter
in the
time.
mess, he will pray for a good AI Act and a good resolution on creative workers. Okay, so now we are going to another international institutions before, if you can listen to Mr. Tiendre Beogo from UNESCO. That promised to be in 7 minutes, so then we can give the floor for your questions. Toussaint, tu es avec nous?
Yes.
Okay,
Good.
we also see you in all your splendor.
Okay, good.
Please.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, dear members of the parliament, ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't be in person with you today, but it was so important for UNESCO to be part of this discussion on the pressing issues facing the cultural and creative sectors in the digital environments. And I would like to begin by thanking the members of the European Parliament for providing UNESCO with this opportunity to share information on key actions and guidance we have undertaken to address critical questions concerning AI and its impact on the cultural and creative sectors, and to outline the next steps for both action and protection. As you know, the cultural and creative sectors have already played a vital role in shaping our societies. They are the repositories of our collective memory, expressions of our identities, and catalysts for fostering understanding and empathy. The rapid development of AI is not only transforming these sectors, but also challenging us to reflect upon the ways in which technology can be harnessed for human development and well-being. The past few decades have witnessed drastic transformations which present both opportunities and challenges for the entire value chain. Generative AI and its increased use in creative practices offers unprecedented opportunities for growth, but complex questions are also being posed around the ethic of AI, and the creators are raising concerns about its potential negative impacts on artistic autonomy, human originality, cultural diversity, and shared values. While some look for ways to adapt to AI and redefine creative work, others see AI as devaluing creativity and threatening social and gender equality. This is why our urgent global reflection is needed today. In 2021, UNESCO produced the first ever global standards on AI ethics, the recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence, where culture is featured as a specific area of policy action. The historic Mondial 2022 declaration, issued by ministers of culture from around the globe, also includes the development of principles for the regulation of digital platforms. This will surely be addressed during the 2025 edition of Mondial Code to take place in Barcelona, Spain in September 2025. UNESCO continues to prioritize efforts to support a fair and equitable digital transition for the creative sector. The 2005 Convention on the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions provides a framework for governments to take policy action to protect, strengthen, and promote their cultural and creative industries, including in the digital environments. In 2017, guidelines on the subject were approved, and an open roadmap was adopted in 2019 to provide frameworks for implementing the convention in the digital environments. Following the actors and writers strike in the USA and the UK last year, UNESCO organized a high-level discussion on AI in the audiovisual industry, which brought together professionals with a diversity of perspectives to exchange views on the opportunities and threats posed by the AI in the film sector for consideration in the development of national policies and measures. Recommendations from the discussion highlighted the need for UNESCO and other international organizations to develop inclusive and participatory international guidelines and standards that are human-centered and guaranteed. First, consent. Artists and cultural professionals should be informed of and consent to the use of their work for training generative AI models. Second, fair remuneration. Artists and cultural professionals whose work is being used by generative AI tools should be remunerated and have their intellectual property rights protected. Third, transparency. Users of generative AI tools should be aware of the sources used to create the content they are requesting, notably to avoid an unintentional plagiarism, and similarly, works that were generated through AI should be clearly indicated. Last but not least, cultural diversity. Generative AI models should be trained and corrected to avoid perpetuating biases and stereotypes and ensure that diverse and representative stories or images are produced and disseminated. In January 2024, we established an expert reflection group on the diversity of cultural expressions in the digital environment, which was requested by the Intergovernmental Committee of the UNESCO 2005 Convention on the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions. This new reflection group will exchange knowledge and experiences regarding the digital transformation during 2 meetings in May and September this year. And then they will formulate recommendations that will be presented to UNESCO. Countries around the globe are increasingly being called upon to develop appropriate legislations, policies, and measures to resolve or mitigate growing concerns about the ethics of AI in the creative sectors. In response, UNESCO is partnering with our member states to implement projects to address the digital skills gap in the cultural and creative industries and to strengthen policies framework. An aspiring example is the UNESCO Republic of Korea Partnership Project named Digital Creative Lab, which was launched in 2021 to bridge the digital divide in the culture sector by sharing knowledge and improving digital competencies of the creative workforce at regional and national levels. Based its successful outcomes, UNESCO is continuing Digital Creativity Lab in 2024 with ongoing support from the Republic of Korea. Drawing on this, on the continued guidance of UNESCO's recommendation on the ethics of AI, and working intersectorally in close collaboration with UNESCO chairs and UNITWIN university networks, sister UN agencies, regional economic groups, as well as other key stakeholders, we must strive to balance the challenges with the opportunities that AI represents so that it can become a greater opportunity rather than a threat to the cultural and creative sector. In closing, I would like to recall the word of Mr. Duncan, Crabtree Island, SAG-AFTRA National Executive Director and Chief Negotiator during the UNESCO AI and Film event last October. He said that we are not anti-technology, we are pro-people, and technology should serve the needs of people and not the other way around. So thank you for your kind attention. As I mentioned at the beginning, I couldn't stay with you for the questions and answer session due to prior commitment, but my colleague Oriol from the UNESCO office in Brussels is attending in person and could answer any question you may have. Thank you very much, Giacomo.
Thank you very much to Toussaint. There will be for sure many questions. The only problem is we have time to make the questions. And about questions, I invite you because we have to, Mr. Mendes, to leave us if there are questions for him before to leave. I have one for you as a sculptor. Do you think, like me, that Botero and Giacometti will be the first to be used in 3D sculpture essays by artificial intelligence? This is a serious question, huh?
Well, when he was still alive, I suppose so, yes, because he was a modern artist, very distinctive, how you call it, these thin sculpts. But he was the one who was reading the market and produced his art within the market. That's what I at least believe. So I think that he would use that artificial intelligence in a smart way, because that's what I said. And of course, we can try to reduce the innovation and to make legislation to canalize new techniques and new things in life. But it's always the freedom of the mind which is deciding on the market. And so it's good that we help people. And if we talk, for example, about remuneration, we said the same in our resolution on the creative sector. It's wishful thinking, because normally we tried it in the Netherlands by helping artists to give them, let's say, a certain amount when new public buildings were built. It was the 1% rule. So 1% of the investment of the government should be invested in arts. And what we see that I think 90% or even more is now in cellars of the government, and nobody is looking at them because the market, and that's we are not interested in. It's strange that why we visit exhibitions, because we are intrigued by what is seen there, and we don't like to see things that we don't like.
Yeah, but the precondition for what you say is that the rights of Mr. Giacometti will be protected. If not, anybody can make it.
But that, I have seen a lot of copies, and then I mean not literally copies, but what I've seen even on the academy where I studied, that students are using examples which are good looking or which are famous, and then they are inspired, and that's not an exact copy in according to the copyright directive. But yes, it might be possible, and it might be helpful if we can reduce the costs of legal procedures, because then you can go to court. But it's the most of the artists cannot afford to go to court if their products are copied. And so if we talk about the right or the let's say a fair remuneration, I agree, but then we have to skip the cost of legal procedures, because that's the biggest problem for artists if they want to put if their work is copied according to the copyright directive.
Perfect. He has to leave. So there is any question for any urgent question? Yes, please present yourself.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure it's very urgent, but I'd like to ask you a question, since you mentioned specifically the image and the voice of the actors. My name is Dominique Lecoeur. I'm the General Secretary of the International Federation of Actors, and we speak, it's a global union federation. It speaks for a highly skilled group of professionals that you've seen, that you're seeing every day, and you've seen very often last year on your screens, perhaps momentarily not to entertain yourselves, but to involved in industrial actions to fight for the future of their profession. The question I wanted to ask is related to a practice that we're seeing now spreading in many countries, whereby the companies that engage our members, either within the context of a specific project or outside of that project, are requesting contractually from our members that they transfer their personality rights in perpetuity. So we're seeing something that we were kind of used to with respect to copyright, where they were asking for our rights to be transferred in perpetuity for any kind of use, including future uses that are not yet known at point of contract. We're seeing a similar thing with respect to the data, the personal data, the voice, the likeness of our members, their biometric data, essentially. And we all know that without the face, without their face, without their voice, actors can't work, right? And so we're now in a process of we're seeing private libraries that are being created, harvesting all these private data contractually. None of this is probably illegal, I guess. So my question is, a lot of this is biometric data. Is there a way, and so it should be, it should fall perhaps under GDPR, private data, informed consent, with respect to all those that are collecting the data, they're using the data, etc. The problem here, some members, they don't all have the collective power that our US colleagues have. They represent 160,000 members. They're able to shut down an entire industry for a while. They're also our members. So what protections can be built to enable the weakest party, so the artists, to be able to object to the use of the voice and likeness if they don't agree to, without fearing repercussions? Because at the moment, this is what they do, and hence they sign most of the time these rights away in perpetuity. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope that the answer will be shorter than the question, please.
With a politician, you never know. No, what I think is, when you start, you want to become famous and you sign every contract that you want. You see that with all these shows, talents are coming up and they sign a contract because they want to become famous. The moment when you are famous, you are powerful in your negotiations. And what I think, if we want to have a legal protection, we should deal with unfair practices. For example, it's not fair that you sign a contract that you don't get a remuneration when they're using your portrait, and you don't get any money for it, though it's a huge campaign and it's bringing a lot of money for the one who get your rights. So I think we should focus on unfair practices, because I think it's an unfair practice if you sign, but it's always the problem. If you are not famous at all, if you don't have any income, then you sign every contract just to become levels higher. And I think we should protect in a way, and that's what we can do with new legislation, to introduce a kind of a fair share, and that should be possible. But to avoid that, let's say, talents are signing contracts to become famous, that we, for example, try to forbid it, then I think that a lot of talents will not be known in the future. And that's a pity for all of us. We just have to talk about how we can make a fair share, how we can introduce a fair share, that they get some remuneration, which is, let's say, in the line what they are performing.
Thank you very much.
Your question was quite a difficult one.
Thank you very much. But this is possible because there are some conditions in contract that are considered as unacceptable. And
even an overall, what I mean to say is that we have a sort of an overall principle, and we have with let's say, commercial transactions, they have to be fair. And we should also focus that on the copyright directive. And if we can then go to court, then judges should say that. But then it cannot be the case that you pay 50,000 or 100,000 euro for your attorney, your barrister, and then, well, you're already bankrupt. At least I am.
Thank you very much. I think that Mr. With the Cock is taking a lot of notes, because what you are requesting has to be eventually in the proposal that the Commission will prepare. And there are useful suggestions. We are very late. We are already late.
I know.
Okay, please.
Just 30 seconds, just to say that solutions exist already in other areas of IPR with patents. If you go in the German system, people inventing in a public situation like Fraunhofer Institute, something, they have a right to a minimum amount of royalties, no matter what. So if the law provides for a limitation to the thing that you can sign, and there is a part which is by law assigned to you, so even when you become rich and famous, or just famous, you will be having right to what you had before. So it's nothing that you need to reinvent. You just need to reuse what exists in other fields.
Is it also on European level?
Okay. So we will send this link to Madam. Okay, we are already late, I'm sorry. And now we open another chapter. We have listened to some of the face of the problem, but now there is another face of the problem that is on the side of the public service broadcasters. We have with us Eric Scherer, that is the head of the news group of the news committee. So all the questions like the virtual presenters of the news, the fake news, the deep fake, etc., are his daily bread. Can you share the bread with us?
Sure, thank you. Thanks a lot. Yes, I'd like to take the floor for the voice of the PSM, the public service media, and we have at least two main issues for PSM. We have the disinformation issue and the disinformation growing risks, and second, the copyright protection. And for both of them, we are very concerned. And I would like to just talk a bit about that. But maybe let me first be clear. Generative AI offers public service media a lot of opportunities. We know that, and hopefully we will benefit from it. It will help us advance our missions. It will help us enabling us to do more for our audiences, for the industry and for the society. It will also enable our teams to work more efficiently, effectively, and many EBU members, because we are here from the EBU union, are already using and exploring the potential benefits of generative AI. But generative AI poses some big risk and a lot of challenges. In the news sector, already destabilized by more than 15 years of the deleterious impact of out-of-control social networks in the public sphere, there is a mixture of excitement and concern. Excitement because it will save time, it will allow newsroom to concentrate on the essentials. Concern because the new tool can also be used to twist reality, to manipulate facts, or even invent them. The new AI, the so-called generative AI, also, although highly creative, does not research, does not question sources, does not give its own sources, ignores the boundaries between disciplines, and does not hold the authorities to account. So if you like social networking, you will love ChatGPT and company. After all, the former were powered solely by humans. The new generative AI is powered by machines, whose performance already exceed that of many humans. We all know already that AI may amplify misinformation. Who could wish for an acceleration in the flow of misinformation in our anxious, angry, and increasingly polarized societies where algorithms sort out most of what young people want to know? How can we deal with this new competition for attention span? How can we respond to the risk of further erosion of trust in the media? When perhaps, and I would like to underline it, when perhaps nothing we see on the internet tomorrow will be credible. It's a possibility that nothing you will see on the internet tomorrow will be credible. What are these new risks around synthetic media and algorithm discrimination? Really, we don't understand why disinformation is not a risk contained in the AI Act. You may say that disinformation is contained in the DSA. It's a possibility. But for example, and very concretely, OpenAI is not part of the DSA. The new platform, the new algorithm, the new generative AI platform are not part of the DSA. And it's very strange that the AI Act does not say a word about the disinformation increasing risk, especially in such a big election year. And I was very surprised also to see that the World Summit on AI in London in the fall did not say a word about disinformation, risk from AI. So this is a big, and I'd like to have your answer on this from the Commission, from the Parliament, because really this is very surprising that no one is talking about that. The second issue is, of course, copyright. And yes, copyright is part of the AI Act. But how can we protect the work of journalists and media revenues? To what extent is their content used to train AI? How should they be compensated? And what are the legal options? Generative AI is transforming the way people access information and create content. And generative AI will also change our relation to truth and cognition. We see in the PSM community among EBU members, and this is larger than the European Union, at least 3 risks to news and journalism. The first is the unauthorized data scrapping by third parties. You mentioned the opt-out. The opt-out is a solution, but the generative AI platform don't care. They still ingest our content. Even if we have a block, if we block the crawler, they still ingest our content. This has been seen officially by legal people. And they really tell us, we are continuing to ingest your content. Second, the new generative AIs do not respect publisher content. And this is the biggest concern we have. We really fear that the platform are in the process of inventing the media of tomorrow with our content without asking the permission to use it. This is a big issue. Have a look at the perplexity.ai website. On this website, you will see some news selected by the platform in a very, very comprehensive and very interesting manner, without any links to the origin, without any links to the source. The source are there. You will never go to the source. You don't care. It's perfectly done, but with our content. Have a look on it. This is the media of tomorrow they are inventing with our content. And the third one is, of course, disinformation. We really would like that the platform are helping us, helping you on disinformation. And of course, you mentioned the fact that we may have some tracing of content inside the AI Act. You mentioned the watermarking of a video and photo. You mentioned text. It's impossible today to trace AI in text. Impossible. So this is a wrong assessment, the fact that you can trace AI in text. So we have 3, for example, we have 3 proposals on this. The first one, we would like that the platform ask us the permission to use our content. And of course, we can do some deal with them individually, collectively. This is a possibility. Second, we would like to negotiate the terms on which generative AI outputs reference the IP of trusted brand and media in their output. We want to know how they use our content. And third, we would like that they help us to trace AI in the media they are, or in the content they are producing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric. I think that these are very interesting suggestions that you are not taking notes, so you will have to listen to all the session. No, I'm joking. No, a lot of very interesting suggestions and very challenging for all of us.
But there is a question in it. And my question would be for you, why this information is not in the AI Act? And why do you refer to this information only in the DSA, which, in our point of view, is not sufficient?
I don't know if Mr. Devesa would... Mr. Devesa, you want to take the floor now, or you can wait for listening to other intervention and then take the floor?
You don't need to alter the normal program.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, the question is in the acts, and I hope that we will get an answer. I would now, following the program, giving the floor to Oliver Retig, that is the Regional Secretary of Uni Europe, that is the Association of Unions. So the question for you is, are you going to ask for being members to the machines? Can AI subscribe to and get a card of membership of the unions?
Well, I rather doubt it, because they're not really human beings, and I'm not really convinced whether they ever get there, especially in being creative. What is quite clear that we had a digitalization, artificial intelligence around for a number of years, if not decades. But is generative AI different? And I think one of the points is it's less transparent. I mean, there's some input, there's some output, and how much are we actually in control about what is in there and where they get it from, just to continue the train of thoughts of the previous speaker. For us as trade unions, questions, however, remain the same, is how can we have a say in the implementation of generative AI? And since generative AI and new technology generally brings more profits, more productivity, how can we guarantee that there is a fair share of us? And then we had the discussion about what happens, Dominique was mentioning this, when you lend your face to someone and you never get it back. I mean, I'm responsible for media and entertainment, but with many other sectors which will be affected as well. And just a little excursus. I think one of the key problems of generative AI, it is hitting the classical white-collar jobs, so office jobs. And in our structure as societies, we look at sectors, but we don't really look anymore as white-collar, blue-collar or so. And this is a problem which hits everyone and almost every company in whatever sector they are. And I think media is on the forefront of it, but we see it also in call centers, contact centers, where generative AI has actually a boost on profitability and productivity, even for those who are really at the entrance level. It really makes a difference there, which makes their work easier. So it's positive as well as negative, but each technology is positive and negative. So we just have to find the right balance. What we have seen then, of course, and that is the example of the Writers Guild of America, they are faced with the fact that AI is already in use there. And their motto was, when AI is used, we want to have a say. And they went on strike for this. And the achievement was, I think, something like a beacon for us. First of all, writers cannot be forced to use AI. They can receive authorization to use it. But that then also results that all the work they produce is considered as human work, which triggers collective bargaining protection. So you just can't take them out of the protection. And it's also recognized that all screenplay is a human and creative process. So they set the principles, and I think that we have to do. I mean, we don't have to go the way, as I said, I give them artificial intelligence machine membership card, but there is human input there. And we have to stress the human input and nothing else. And at the moment, and that is basically many platforms or those many American Chinese companies would just say, well, we are like pirates, we take what we get, and we don't care if anybody says something about it. And there it comes in, we need rules. And coming back to image, I mean, it's good practice that human DNA cannot be used as a patent. In details, I mean, but as a human person as a whole, not. So why is it different for your body and your face? So, I mean, that's my question, which is not our official position, but I would just say there we should think about it and just simply say a face or your picture cannot be sold, certainly not forever after. And the problem is, of course, not that they play around with your individual picture, but they bring it together into a much better image, which can be sold better. And then you can't even identify yourself, and then you're just a bit in part of the average of this. The good thing coming back to the US is they set the path, and now we have unions in Europe, in Italy, in Germany, actually taking this to shape and negotiate about artificial intelligence in film here in Europe as well. And I think what is important, and that is also something for legislation for the European Union as such, is our question is, we want to have and need strong trade unions on the one hand, so that we actually can negotiate. And we need good partners on the other side as well, who actually want to talk with us. And there I'm happy, especially with EBU and the social partners we have in the sector, that they're really positive in working with us. And the other point is, we need to shape it collectively. So we need collective bargaining. And there I come to the European Parliament. When you think about legislation in future, also think that you try to give a push, directly or indirectly, that the better solution is through collective bargaining rather than having very individualized, strict rights. It is generally the social partners working together who can find the best solution. Consider the condition for this is, however, that there is actually a culture of social partnership. And there is not, where we have, like with Amazon, a culture where they are not accepted to talk to us as trade unions, but neither, Daniela, to the European Parliament. So, I mean, they are just undemocratic in two ways. So we have heard about the AI Act. I mean, we as from the trade union side said we don't want to have this AI Act also dealing with workers' rights as such. We said, let's keep it separate. So one of the key initiatives for us, next Parliament, is actually having an act on artificial intelligence, which looks at the impact on workers and what needs to be done, because it's different. With a platform directive, perhaps with a platform directive, we might make some progress there, but we have to see. And what we need, and that is the point, I mean, I said already, we need scope for collective bargaining. That is the first request from us. And the other element is we need good rights that protect workers, where it cannot be done by collective bargaining. I mean, just by collective bargaining, it doesn't work. There needs to be also strong rights. And we, social partners again, need to have a say in how this is shaped, and that we need to do. And then Europe is already not at the nation state, but it's a global market. It's a global business. We have the examples from the US, but we have other parts of the world as well. And as Dominique from FIA was saying, they're not as strong as trade unions. They're also not as strong as companies. So they're much easier put in a situation where it is uncompetitive. And we have to change this. So in conclusion, let the social partner do what they can do best. Do as legislators what is necessary. Have a national, European and global perspective in it, and really make sure that humans are in control. And I think that is a message also from the European Commission, but we need to bring this about. I mean, humans need to be in control, and we should rather invest, and what we do with artificial intelligence, that it profits us all, that we don't get something like certain individuals who think they can't pay workers or society because they need to save the money to invest in going to Mars. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oliver. Other suggestions, other useful paths to follow? We are late. I would like really to keep some time for the debate, so I beg my next colleagues to be shorter if you can. The next one is Renate. We are already touching this dimension of the journalist, but in her position, she can say better than me. Please.
Yes, thank you, Giacomo. Thank you for having been invited on behalf of the European Federation of Journalists. Just for those who don't know, the EFJ is representing about 300,000 journalists, including an increasing number of freelance journalists throughout the EU and the Council of Europe through unions and associations of journalists. For us, journalism is a public good. And I appreciate very much that in the EP resolution, the term culture is a public good was mentioned, and public goods need, including other regulatory reforms, sufficient funding to survive. We agree with all the points referred to the report regarding the use of AI systems and AI-generated content. Let me outline some points highly important for journalists and the survival of journalists, and agreeing with most of what you have said. Let me stress at the outset that we cannot underestimate the power and potential for abuse of the platforms, today's gatekeepers, which will increase enormously through the use of AI, if we want it or not, because with generative AI, platform providers will be even less reliant on legacy media content providers than they already are today. Today, they already generate content themselves or have it generated by their users free of charge, and we all take advantage of that. According to ex-Googler Jim Albrecht, Big Tech's current project, generative AI, might put a nail in the media's coffin. He argues that AI is the real wolf that threatens the business of journalism. So yes, we want to be positive. We must do a lot in Europe if we wish to save our already fragile information ecosystems, our democracies, and take advantage of the indeed amazing tools AI can provide and does already provide. I focus in the following few minutes on 4 points, which are all interrelated. First one is transparency requirements. It has already been said, the use of AI will make the monetization of journalistic products increasingly difficult. AI applications use, as we all know, text and data mining technologies to shift through vast amounts of existing content, usually without first obtaining the consent of the authors or paying an appropriate fee. The artificial intelligence then uses and markets the third-party content or parts of it in its own name. As a result, and we all know it, journalists who originally produced the content become unpaid suppliers of raw data for the AI systems. This must not happen. The EFJ is therefore calling on legislators to introduce mandatory remuneration for text and data mining so that journalists can participate in the development and use of the AI systems. With reference to the AI Act, just one immediate comment, while we would have liked to see stronger provisions at EU level, the AI Act sets out some essential transparency obligations, in particular for high-risk models. AI is already widely used in European newsrooms, so we can't wait any longer to introduce such regulations. The EFJ and the whole creative sector campaigned for a regulation that stipulates that the training of models like ChatGPT cannot take place without remuneration. And sorry if I repeat myself. However, politicians have not responded to this demand. On the contrary, and I quote, recital 60I of the AI Act even indicates that the legislator of the directive assumes that the training of AI models falls under the text and data mining exemption barrier rule. The European legislator must therefore create a clear legal regulation as quickly as possible that prohibits the use of copyright-protected content without the consent or remuneration. Second point is no replacement for human performance. It has been already said, but we cannot say it enough. In June last year, Axel Springer decided to dismiss 200 jobs at Europe's most read newspaper, Die Bild, including editors, photographers, and editors-in-chief, specifically at local level. Unfortunately, they said, we also need to dismiss colleagues who have tasks that are being replaced by AI and/or processes in the digital world, or who do not fit into this new setup with their current skills. That was the message put in a video call to the employers who lost their job. Media companies must not use artificial intelligence with the aim of saving journalist jobs. Even if tasks change or are completely eliminated through the use of artificial intelligence, people in the newsrooms will not become superfluous. This is because the responsible use of artificial intelligence in journalism always requires the irreplaceable editorial eye of journalists on the content generated in order to ensure its quality and comply with journalistic, ethical, and professional standards. Humans are also irreplaceable when it comes to researching and compiling the underlying data material, as well as programming, training, and configuring the AI application. This means that the interaction between humans and AI applications is crucial, even if the degree of automation of artificial intelligence is high. The fully automatic creation and distribution of messages must be avoided. Credibility is and remains the most important prerequisite for journalism, and it can only be maintained if people bear the ultimate responsibility for the selection and presentation of comment. 2 more points. Third, the chances and the risks for generated AI tools. AI has already been an irreplaceable tool for investigative and editorial work. The scandals surrounding the Panama Papers, for example, would never have been exposed because no editorial team would have managed to analyze 11.6 million of documents. It is clear that AI has the potential to lead journalism in all areas, including research, production, and distribution. However, an indispensable requisite for this is that the revolutionary technology is developed, trained, and integrated into editorial work responsibly and in accordance with journalistic standards and ethical principles. Otherwise, it will give even more power to the platforms whose business model is based on attention-driven, often disinformation and clickbait, with an unprecedented disruptive impact on pluralism, trust, you named it, and democracy. So that's why training is so important. The use of artificial intelligence must become an integral part of journalist training and further education, and this should be in every collective agreement. Media companies are called upon to offer appropriate courses. In addition to the use of artificial intelligence and the respective tools like research, these training courses must go to focus on raising awareness of the misuse of artificial intelligence. We talked about deepfake and the potential harm of that today, and creating opportunities to discover them in everyday journalism. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Renate. We are short on time. I will give the floor to Mr. Devese in 1 second because Eric wants to add something to what Renate just said.
Yes, thank you. Very, very briefly, thank you so much. I agree with what you said. Three small points. Search engines are becoming answer engine. Search engines are becoming answering engines. You have the answer without any links to our content, without any links to the news or the articles or the media who are doing it. It's so perfect, so nice. You don't need to go elsewhere. They have the answer. Second, on text and data mining, you remember that you allow the foundation and the scientific community to mine and to scrap the content. It's allowed by law. And guess what? All the GAFA have foundation now. They all have foundations. So they are allowed to scrap content for free. And my third point is just Have a look if you have time. The New Yorker, 2 days ago, published a very strong articles on the extension of news media accelerated by generative AI. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Devesa, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Above all, thanks a lot to Daniela, of course, for organizing such an important and very interesting, from what I'm seeing, and very happy, interesting and important event, and also very happy to see so many participants. Of course, I'm not totally surprised, even though there are always so many things happening at the same time in the parliament, and many of them are worthwhile. But of course, the quality of the MEP organizing and the topic, which is so current, artificial intelligence and the impact in the artistic, cultural, creative, and media sector is, of course, of interest and of a strategic importance, I will say. And we have had the chance of working together in the report on the conditions of the artists in Europe, which I think we did a good job. It has some relation to the topic of today, and indeed, I think it was Mr. Roetic that asked for a artificial intelligence act in the workplace, if I understood you correctly. This is what you asked. We also asked it in our report. This is already approved by the plenary of the European Parliament. And I think we have also some improvements. We have to debate to what extent we need more. Probably we need more. In the field of precisely the impact of artificial intelligence in this sector. But as I said, we have, I think, already some interesting improvements in the Artificial Intelligence Act that we voted yesterday in the committee. After the agreement with Council, I think it will go to plenary. And there you find already, for instance, something that I think it's very important, which is that we are requiring a fair amount of transparency in the use of artificial intelligence when you are developing cultural activities or cultural projects, which I think it's something that, at least for me, it's a worrisome development in a way. I mean, the fact that of course, we see artificial intelligence as a tool that can enhance our lives in different dimensions, also maybe in the production of culture. But the fact that you can go, if I understood this properly from the news, that you can go to ChatGPT and ask, write me a novel in the style of Proust, and this can be done, for me, it's almost life-changing. That this is possible. It's amazing, but in a negative way for me. So if this is possible, and I don't think it's a very nice possibility, but of course we cannot forbid that. We cannot say you cannot develop a machine that is able to do that. But the very minimum that we should require is that if you buy such a book, you should be aware that it has been produced by ChatGPT or whatever, to whatever degree, that is not really an original work. And the same with the generation of images in films, for instance. If you generate people to cover the screen, imagine of Ben-Hur. Ben-Hur required, not only Ben-Hur, but it could be an example. Ben-Hur required lots of extras, or Gone with the Wind, when you had all these, remembering Gone with the Wind, in the Atlanta hospital, after the defeat of the South, you had all the all the hurt people, all the I think, by the way, back then, not all of them were real people. I think 1 of 3 were real and the others were dummies. Okay, so maybe just to put in context that the use of tricks to create art is not only with artificial intelligence, no? But of course, this has an impact, obviously, on the on workers, because obviously, if you can generate the extras by artificial intelligence, you don't need to hire these people, and those are many people that we pay to be in the movies. So that's one, of course, negative development. But the very least is that when you see this film, you are aware that this has been done in a certain way, and the act has a provision to this effect, no? Which is Article 52 in particular. So I think this is a positive development. It is true that it's not entirely new, not only because of the example of Gone with the Wind, but and you probably, because you are people active in the sector, more knowledgeable. But if you think of the cartoons, no? The cartoons for a long time are computer generated, no? Not with artificial intelligence, which to some extent has been also a loss of artistic quality or imprint. No? If you look at the cartoons of the 1980s, those were drawn up to the 1980s. These were drawn by real people, page by page. No? And you have to. Now it's all computer generated. No? Now with artificial intelligence, you have a new layer, no? Of disruption, so to speak. So I think we have to really follow up closely on the implementation, of course, of this new Artificial Intelligence Act to make sure that Article 52 is implemented. Of course, in a non-invasive way. So you can identify these in the titles and the end of the movie, or you can put a sentence when the image shows up in a more or less discreet way, so you don't endanger, of course, the artistic experience, no, or the cultural experience. And one last comment, not to make it long, on the point of disinformation, which is, of course, critical. I will need also, as Daniela said, time to check with our colleagues to understand why this is not part of it. But it is also true, probably it's not the answer or not the entire answer, but we are also working on the democracy defense package. And I'm sure the question of artificial intelligence, I'm sure not, but I will expect that in the democracy defense package, we can also tackle the question of artificial intelligence in the context of disinformation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Devesa, for your first reaction. I think that this creates the ground on which we can build a lot. Now, can I ask you to be short? Carol Tom.
I'm going to do my best. Which do I press?
This one, if you want to be seen.
Thank you very much, Giacomo. Thank you to everyone. It's lovely to be back in the European Parliament. I was here for many years as a member of the Socialist Group and coordinator for the Socialist Group in Culture. And the first thing I would love to say is you have great strength as parliamentarians to bring your views to bear, having been informed by such a galaxy of colleagues here today with whom I totally agree, and I'm going to try not to repeat what has been said, but bringing the voices you hear today to bear on the European Commission and on ministers is of critical importance. And I do ask, I may be wrong, but where is DG Connect? Because I fear deeply that they have adopted a certain frame of mind where they are terrified that we will somehow lose out in terms of not going along with everybody who takes, who's saying you will lose out to innovation. I believe this, as chair of the European Coalitions for Cultural Diversity, we are there to uphold the 2005 Convention. We represent 11 national coalitions, all the professions in all the creative sectors, authors, producers, composers, editors, performers, broadcasters, journalists. And We want their voices to be heard very, very strongly in this debate. And I want to emphasize, we endorse everything we have already heard today. I have torn up what I was going to speak and will try and move straight to recommendations. Regarding the AI Act, we like the fact it has been adopted, but would say one of our recommendations would be that the AI Office should produce a template of the summary that AI actors will be asked to produce that would correspond to an up-to-date list of the protected works which they are using for training purposes. On the status of the artist and on the ethical use of AI, please, DG Connect, DG EAC, look at what the UNESCO recommendations and conventions actually say, because it's all in there. It's all in there, and the European Union has ratified these conventions, so you must be held to this in the Commission. On the status of the artists, we look forward, I think, thank you very much, colleague De Veso, for your work. There must be a guidance framework for member states as quickly as possible on, it's about enhancing our esteem, our respect for our artists and creators, diminishing their precarity with which they are so often forced to live. We've got to reflect a lot more deeply. Canada is a way forward when we look at how deep their consultation and reflection groups are on this whole matter. That should lead us to say that the text and data mining exception is wholly inappropriate to what we are facing now. It was there before we had generative AI. It's not practical, certainly not practical. Why put the onus on creators and those who've got rights? It's almost as if you're turning copyright rules on their head. And it certainly doesn't conform to the three-step tests under the Berne Convention. And I think we need to reflect that no new industries have the right to get their raw materials for nothing. How many times do we have to say this? It is imperative there is fair remuneration. It is imperative, according to what our colleagues at uni and the journalists said, there must be strong collective bargaining possible. There must be licensing that's possible by collective management organizations. That's the way forward. We need action on transparency, where the transparency of algorithms does aid our creators, but also aids users, aids our citizens to discover more diverse works. And our organization is working a lot on discoverability, and we hope to have a forum, another forum on that very soon. And then just to sum up, as I said, I think this is a civilizational challenge about cultural sovereignty and diversity. We can't facilitate a situation where large businesses do not pay for raw materials and build a business model which exploits all existing creative works. Lord Melvyn Bragg, on the floor of the House of Lords just last week, said the following: culture and creation are not cherries on the top of the cake. They are the cake. Our creators must retain their rights and ability to create and, importantly, reflect our societies in their creation. Our citizens have to be able to understand the world they live in. We have to ensure the greatest number of creative works reach the greatest number of people, all in the context of where a handful of very powerful companies in the world would love to determine more and more of what we see and what we hear, all the while not investing their fair share in the creation that they rely on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol, for your comeback.
You're very passionate.
Antonio, in cauda venenum or the cake at the end?
I mean, I agree with all that's been said, and so I will say something different, because otherwise I will just repeat what has been said so far, and I think it's not my role, and I'm not a journalist, I'm an engineer, so I have a different point of view on all this, and nobody's perfect, that's life is like this. Now, if I can, there are 3 points that I would like to underline. Point number 1, it has been said several times, but I would like to stress it strongly. Join forces. We have giants in front of us. No matter which defense you are going to create, they will find ways to go around it. Forget about being strong enough to be only defensive. You need to be able to defend yourself, and to defend yourself, you need to join forces. In Europe, unfortunately, we still have the attitude to be fragmented. We have a tendency of going, each one of us, in a different direction. And EBU is a place where we do this every day, trying to join forces, to put people together. And this is very, very important. This is the only real big weapon that we have, joining forces. If we abide about this, we are done. I mean, no matter which defense you can create, because the defense is a defense. It's it's the ligne Maginot. You build the ligne Maginot, and then somebody goes around it. I mean, it's not possible. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, there is a second element that is important, is to look for the advantages and not only for the disadvantages. There are new jobs that will be created, and we need to take advantage of those before others will take advantage of those. And in the area of media, the area of media will change. We have had broadcasting, one-to-many. We have had online, one-to-one, but still in one direction. You were selecting what you were willing to read or listen to, but it was always in one direction. The arrival of generative AI will create conversational engine, automatic conversational engines. This is a new world in which you will need trusted third parties. You will need people, journalists, people able to be the intermediary between what is generated by the machines and what the people will be pushed to digest. And this is a new kind of evolution. It's not only a defensive approach, but is also building and constructing what could be a new evolution. And the third point that to me is the most important. No matter what we say, AI will have an impact which is for the next decades. I cannot even imagine for how long. If we are not educating the young generations, if they are not learning how to understand what they have in front of them, if they are not developing their critical analysis of what they have in front of them, if they are not taken at the age of curiosity, don't try to teach it when they are already too old. Try to start from where they are very young. This should be basic tools, because they will be their basic tools forever. And then if you do it in the age of curiosity between 7 and 11, then you can automatically involve also their parents, because they will try to understand what the hell are they learning, my kids, what is happening there. And then we can have an acceleration. I know it's a long-term investment and the return is at distance, but if we don't do it, we should not complain tomorrow if people will be just passively receiving the results of AI and not being able to criticize those. I think these are the 3 pillars on which we need to work. And in this respect, public service could be very useful, because take the case of education, for example. We are there to inform, educate, and entertain. Educate is one of the 3 pillars. And we need to get involved if we want to have an acceleration in this. If we wait for the scholar system, for the schools to go at speed with this new way of educating, it will take too long time. We need to put together again forces between the media and the educational system so that you can accelerate the new education of the new generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonio. So we have been so good that we are only half an hour late. So, but because we need to close as sooner as possible, I would like to try to concentrate the intervention from the floor, but for us are very important because we invite other people here to listen other voices, and it's important that you take the floor. I have one reserved intervention for UNESCO, because UNESCO has been mentioned many times, and we have our colleague from Brussels office of UNESCO. Yeah? Yes.
Now, if I may ask a change of program, if you want to go further with debate, go ahead, take your minutes. But unfortunately, I have to leave because, you know, I have a severe problem at home and I have to leave. It's can I say just a few words and then I leave and then you take the debates and you, Giacomo, please, you will close this event. I took all notes about what you said. I appreciate your interventions and I really thank you for your participation and all the things you said. I don't want to go too much in details or answer to everybody, but what just now Mr. Cidiacomo was saying, he gave us three paths that I agree very much. Not to have a defensive approach. If we have this, there will be no legislation, no policy, no activities that can, how can I say, wing this giant. I hope we won't have to fight a war. I don't think the human being is so stupid to invent artificial intelligence and all this come towards in a negative way to us. I mean, it must be a crazy thing that we did. So I absolutely agree on what you're saying. And also this aspect of the new generation. I think that us adults and the young generation who have native tools, still, we don't have the tools to understand what is real, what is fictional, what is fake. So a part of, not to have a defensive approach, but try to see if we can orient this path, if we can orient policy, if legislation can help, and also the civil society engagement in this. We are all called to govern a process, I think, because as all of you said, all the social contracts and all the sector will be affected by this. We have talked so many times about transparency on artificial intelligence, transparency on algorithm. We still have to work on that, I think, and also the approach that we had a lot of proposals, but as also you said, there are different perspectives on how to face this or which tools to put into practice. For instance, Oliver was talking about artificial intelligence acting workplaces, but at the same time, you know very well the discussion that you've got as social partners, as trade unions and employer associations to use a directive or recommendation or a regulation. So we are still there on discussing on which legislative instrument we should use. And this really is frustrating because we have so many things to discuss, so many things to face, that if we are still thinking about also a legislative instrument, I'm afraid we are late on this. We are very much, I think, orientated, and this discussion said this, on the well-being of the human being. So this anthropological approach of this artificial intelligence, I think we are there in terms of analyzing and collect data and the transparency on the creative and cultural sector. Maybe we are a little bit further also because of this resolution that we got here in European Parliament. And I think we are living the testimonial for the next Parliament to go ahead with this and to find out new policies, legal instruments, and also with the new European Commission. Now, a lot of us called for a more synergic work between DG Connect, DG Culture, DG Amp. Sometimes we have the impression that they work on, specific, separate, instead of have at least on certain issue and, a whole and holistic approach to this huge transformation that we are facing. I do understand very well that still there is much to do in the media sector. I see that there is a lack of still to maybe to understand what there are a lot of problems. You said as representatives of the industry, of the journalists, as you as a trade union leader, we are still there is a lot of work to do on this. And I was telling you, I have no answer about this. You raise a very good question. I don't know why this information is not yet, but I can tell you at the same time, when this act was discussing and negotiating, and still there were a lot of stakeholders or group of interest of citizens saying it's not enough, we still miss this, we still miss that. So the expectations and also the request that there are on the use of this artificial intelligence, the consequences of this in the labor market, in different sectors, in different industry, is a process that still is going on. And so we really have to do a lot on this, and that's another new task that the new parliament, the new commission has to take into consideration. There is a lot to do in the media sector, not only concerning all the issue that you rightly raise in all different forms, perspective citizen, perspective journalist, perspective information, education, copyrights, and all that you raise. I'm sorry if I have to leave you now, but I really must. Giacomo knows the situation. I really thank you once again very much for your participation, and please go ahead with the debate. I mean, it's. I think you still have time, so to stay and have your discussion. Then Giacomo will please take your conclusion of the debate, and then you tell me. And I hope all together we still have a path to go straight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daniela. Sorry to be long also for you, but so I was giving the floor to UNESCO. Can you explain why UNESCO has to be listened by the European Union?
Yes, especially because we have, as you know, as MEPs, the best Amanda's recall in the EU framework that is really important for the European Union, but also for us as part of, as the EU is, as Carol said, the EU is a party of the only regional party that is that ratified the 2005 Convention for the Protection of Cultural Expression and Diversity. This is important. This is a pillar of our work, and we are really committed. We have a really a right commitment to continue protecting and promoting the status of the artists and the cultural professionals. We have, as you may know, we have a standard-setting instrument that is a recommendation concerning the status of the artist. That it's a long date, it's the 80s, adopted by UNESCO, and UNESCO is implementing this important recommendation. And we have several consultations with our member states. This year, well, last year in 2023 was the fifth consultation survey with all member states. A few of them responded and answered, not a lot. The percentage is not really good, in my opinion, but it's what we have mobilized. But the results are amazing. The results are here in a report that will be presented and will be shared with all of you. This will be presented and at the next intergovernmental committee meeting that it will take place at the end of this month in Paris. There will be a session specific on this, and where the digital environment is tackled, the challenges, and the AI as also insight and as a challenge, but also as opportunity. As we said, as you said, Antonio, I think that it's really important. These two faces of the glass is empty, but it's also full, and we need to tackle both. Just linked to this, I will not go ahead to the survey. You can to the recommendation, but I think that several have been said here. I think that is a document that you should focus, should read for the artist sector, for industry sectors, and for the other. Another thing is the recommendation of the ethics of artificial intelligence, that I think it's crucial because it's a source of guidance as the first ever global standard of ethics and artificial intelligence that has been adopted in 2021, and culture is there, the creative sector is there. So I think that is, well, a small one, but education. But then there's all the links with culture and education, media, freedom of expression, all the part of journalism. So I think that is a guidance element and guidance tool. And then what else? I wanted to react to the, please talk, inspire, Carol said, inspire about the UNESCO. We are on this. We work hand to hand with the Commission, with the GIAC, D1, with Connect on this, in media literacy also. And I think that is a good opportunity. Just if I have, also we have to think on the member states, the EU member states, the 27, that they have to be shaped also on this. If I remember well, in mid-May, there will be a conference organized by the EU presidency, the Belgian presidency, here in Brussels, on the working. I think that you should be invited somewhere. I think that in the framework of the EU framework, but this will follow also the OMC group that the EU member states and the Commission, the TGIAC, created around the working conditions of the artists and are linked on the EU framework. So I think that this could be really a good moment to reinforce this plaidoyer, these advocacy issues on AI that I think that they are needed. And well, let's continue our fight. Everybody in his
role.
Tranche.
Thank you very much. I have another book intervention from Federica Mamini. That is another sector.
Thank you very much.
That see the AI as.
Yes, I'd like to bring the example of another form of art, which is conference interpreting. We are those working behind these booths, and also very much threatened by AI. I'm a member of l'iAI, which is the International Association of Conference Interpreters that promotes the highest standards of quality and ethics in interpreting. We have recently organized a meeting on the impact of AI on intellectual professions like ours. And all of the topics that have been mentioned today were also mentioned during our meeting. One of the main outcomes was indeed that technology should improve interpreters' work rather than being the other way around. And it should definitely not increase the cognitive load that we do have when we work. We also set up a task force on the implications of AI in interpreting, in order to assess issues such as transparency, ethical and legal implications when using such applications, whether or not we should use it and how. So we very much welcome meetings like this because we believe that we do have many things in common, and we would like to take part in further debates. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This gives me the opportunity to say that if of this meeting you have some documents outcome that you can share, because we will try to collect, and this is also a request for all of you, if you can share the documents and the papers that you have produced, or the speakers, if they can send me what they have prepared, we will try to make a repository that then could be useful for the next steps. Any other intervention from the floor? Yes, please. Could you introduce yourself?
I'm the director of the Federation of European Publishers. I represent Publisher Association across Europe. And I just wanted to say that one of the, I share most of the worries and most of the discussion that have been done. We have been very involved in trying to opt out from the text and data mining because we want to be able to monetize. But there's one thing that we are quite concerned is that our works are in the collection of libraries, but the same thing for audiovisual works or music, etc. And I'm always a bit concerned when I hear the word reuse, because there are several initiatives at EU level that you should be aware of. There's a language data space and other, I'm happy to share them with you at a later stage, which look at putting the assets of cultural institutions at the disposal of artificial intelligence operators. And I think we need to be very careful, because what we want to protect on one side with intellectual property, etc., could very well be given on the other side on public interest matters. So just wanted to point that.
Okay. Fine, nobody else. Then the word at the end to the Commission, because the work is now on your table.
Exactly. So a lot of interesting aspects which were discussed, and lots of work in perspective. I heard your concerns. I heard the call for disinformation to be better covered. I understand from the colleagues of Connect who have been working, preparing the AI Act, that it is being addressed with various pieces of legislation, such as the Digital Service Act. But of course, I will convey the preoccupation to them to check whether there is a need to do more and how this can be done. I apologize on behalf of colleagues from DG Connect, because I think that it would have been very interesting for them to be here. But don't worry, we work, we are part of the same program. We work very closely with them. So your voice will be heard and the message will be conveyed. I heard also a call to address AI challenges linked to the situation of artists. I think it's very good that this is discussed now, because we are preparing a reply to the report. I can tell you that the reply should be ready by the end of this month. And as mentioned by our dear colleague from UNESCO, we are already in close contact to use the good work of UNESCO in this field, so that it can be reflected also in our reply. And I finally heard the call for the need to better educate young generation. I think this is of utmost importance. I'm representing DG Education and Culture, which is very good, because I will be able to discuss these specific points with the colleagues in charge of Erasmus+. I know that there are already some actions to equip better younger generations to be able to understand the sources of the information, how to have a safer use of social media. But of course, there's much more to be done. So I will speak to them and convey your concern. Thank you.
Perfect. You only forgot to answer to my question previously. When do you think that there will be a draft proposal that will be according to the resolution that has been made in November?
We are working on it, and we will prepare a reply by the end of this month. This is what I can tell you for the moment.
The reply means that there will be then a proposal following?
First a reply, and then we will see in the coming months. But first we will prepare a reply to each of the recommendations included in the report.
So it means that, if I understand what you say, that still there is some work to be done. And,
yes.
And civil society need to be carefully watching.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so the message has been clear for all of us, and we will watch and we will follow. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody. Thank you, the patients, for the people that is here today. And I thank you because all contribution has been important and relevant. And we will keep an eye on it in the following months. Thank you. Sorry. There is also a recreation moment. If people that were not to rush, we have booked a small cocktail at the Gran Café Spinelli. Giuseppe, where is Gran Café Spinelli?